Hey, this is Steve Bloom, and you are listening to the Geekcast Radio Network.
You are now on the inside of what I like to call the circle of trust.
We are all connected in the great circle of life.
You know something, Bert? What? I think you and I are going in circles.
It feels like we're going in circles.
The circle is now complete. When I left you, I was but the learner. Now I am the master.
Because it's a circle.
Yeah, we heard about the circle.
Yes, we're familiar with shapes.
Hi, this is Chuck.
This is Greg, the drunk one.
And this is Dan. I didn't know we were doing that already.
And this is Dan. It's going to be a great show.
And we are already talking in circles, brought to you by the Geekcast Radio Network, the podcast that apparently is just going all over the place already tonight. Today,
hey.
Greg is plastered. I have no idea. But I think he's just trying to use it as an excuse because today our assignments are due. A few months ago, we did a special homework assignment where we gave each other different things to do, either watch, read, listen to, all that great stuff. This week, we're doing that same thing again. We've each given each other either a graphic novel to read, a movie to watch, or TV show to watch, and what we're going to be doing in our second segment is going over what we thought of each thing we were given. So, tempers may flare if we didn't like each other's assignments, so it might get interesting. Hopefully our homework will go well, and we all did it, and we'll pass it up to the front of the class at the end of today. But before we get to our homework, how's the week been going for you guys?
Well, I've been trying to work out more and diet, but I'm not really successful at the whole dieting aspect, because Saturday was essentially carbs and sugars for me the whole day. Woke up around my usual waking up time, which is about 12:30. That's on the weekends, and had waffles. So the first couple I usually have with nothing on them because they're homemade and delicious. But then the last couple I douse in butter and maple syrup. So a whole bunch of carbs, whole bunch of sugars. Then I go out with my mom and we want to try out those Ghostbuster donuts from Krispy Kreme. They don't have those. Donuts? Yes, they had Ghostbuster donuts.
Nice. So they come with like that old high C from back in the 90s, Ecoplaster or whatever it was called. Ecoplaster. That wasn't it at all. Ectoplasm. Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't that. It was like they had the little logo on the front with a little bit of green splatter, and there was apparently a marshmallow type of filling, and then there was a Marshmallow Man one that had the Marshmallow Man. Yeah, so totally healthy. They didn't have those because it was the day after Halloween, so that promotion ended.
So they had all their holiday stuff up already, huh? Like all the snowflakes and snowmen and Santa Clauses?
No, they didn't get there quite yet, thankfully. Everybody else is doing that, but not Krispy Kreme yet, thankfully. But so I had a couple of donuts from there. I had an apple pie filling one and an original.
I thought you were going to say I had an apple pie. I'm like, all right.
It's an entire apple pie. They make apple pies now.
Yeah.
But then after that, we went to this local winery called Malatessi's. So I had some wine there. So that also counts in the sugar scenario. And then for dinner, it was pizza.
Nice.
So everything was carbs or sugar. And so my stomach felt like it was cramping up for a majority of the Saturday.
Yeah, putting the donuts on the pizza was not a good idea, but it was delicious.
It was. They had a really good one that was like this vanilla cream filling kind of situation. It wasn't a Boston cream. It was more like a vanilla icing type filling, and it was freaking delicious. I had two the one day, and that's pretty bad for Krispy Kreme. I should have had a heart attack or 9 million cavities. But something on an unrelated note, I just found before we
something on an unrelated note, my heart has stopped. So,
well, sort of. It can't stop because it has to do with a certain female. Apparently, the band Paramore. Thank you. The band Paramore, who has the lead singer Hayley Williams, who is gorgeous. Google that shit. Apparently, they're having a garage sale, quote unquote, on eBay. and so it's a lot of clothes. And
I don't know if I like where this is going.
I don't like where this is going either, but I feel like I really want to bid on a pair of pantyhose that are on there that are extremely expensive.
I don't know what's creepier, that they're selling them or that people are buying them. It's like,
it's a pair of, actually it's women's red drip tights that was worn by the lead singer Hayley Williams. They are currently up to $47.93.
Okay. When you said 47, I'm going to say $47,000. I'm like,
no, there's some other stuff that's like into the hundreds. Like there's this suspender skirt and top outfit that was worn by her that's about $204.
Wow. That'll really accent your your life-size doll of her, so you can just throw the clothes on and it'll be good.
Yeah. No, that would mostly spend time on my pillow, so I could smell that as I go to sleep at night.
Oh. And the shivers people feel are probably real right now. But,
Moving along.
Yeah. But Chuck,
like, I don't want any part of this.
Chuck, how's your week been going?
Pretty good. I know we're kind of into November now, but when since the last time we spoke, I went to a Halloween party.
Nice.
It was actually on Halloween night, and we went to a place called the Old Brook Inn, and my girlfriend and myself, we dressed up and everything, and met some of our coworkers there and stuff. And it was a nice time. We had a good night, but the funniest part came when we were leaving. And I should probably explain my costume a little bit. I just kind of went as like a Hawaiian tourist. I had like this black Hawaiian shirt on, like the classic, tourist Hawaiian shirt. Had like a straw hat and like a lei, around my neck with all the different colored flowers and stuff. So I totally looked the part, and I had my shorts on and everything. And but we're leaving, and we decided to use the bathrooms before we leave. So I go into the bathroom, and you know how you can tell when someone's just plastered by looking at their face and how far it's sagging down?
You cannot see mine.
Well, I walk in, and this guy just looks like terrible. You could just look at his face and be like, that guy's bombed. So he like sees me, right? And he's like, yo, man. He's like, where can I get one of those fucking oolas?
Oolas?
And I'm like,
La.
what the frig is an oolah? Like in my head. He's like, yeah, man.
Are those mini people from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory?
Oompa Loompas?
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, man, one of those oolas around your neck. Like, you mean lei? I'm like, oh, I don't know. I'm like, I'm not sure where you get them. In my head, I'm like, maybe the oolah store. I don't freaking know. But I was just like, oh, I don't know. And I kind of kept walking. And he's like, oh, I'll buy it off you, man. I was like, what the hell is happening right now? But luckily, like, I just kept walking back to, like, where the urinals were. And luckily, like, his friend, like, took him out the door or whatever. But I'm just like, wow. Never expected someone to confuse a lei with, like, a oolah. Whatever that may be.
He really wanted an oolah. I mean, who doesn't want an oolah? Wow. So my week has been uneventful, to say the least. Not much has happened, but just trying to get used to this whole daylight savings time. That's just, I completely forgot it happened. And when I woke up, I'm like,
savings time.
Yeah. I'm like, wait, we purchased our clocks back. I completely forgot about that. So it's like a free hour. I'm like, nice. But
yeah, but I get to drive home in freaking nighttime now.
I know, that does suck. It is
highly depressing.
It is really bad when it's like, oh, it's dark at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Nice. But besides all that, with our homework assignment, I did get inspired to actually get into some comics recently. I don't know about you guys. You ever get in something where you get into a different mood, whatever it may be? Like, I really into watching movies at this certain time. Or actually,
yeah. That's always for you, dude?
That's always, not always, honestly. there are times when that doesn't happen. Not all the time, but this past weekend it happened for whatever reason. Like, I was like really gonna get in the comics in kind of similar to when I got in the Hero Clicks, where it's like a fever pitch, where it's like really quick and really fast, and I have to absorb it all because Greg gave me an assignment for a comic book, and it kind of just let me down this path where and also a dangerous path because...
Are we going to have to give you a pop vinyl talk?
Not a pop vinyl talk, but I know it's controversial. I know we don't tend to do this, but I did enter the questionable world of digital comics. I know. I feel dirty about it. I'm not going to lie. It just feels wrong, but...
Evil!
I know. It just...
Kill trees! Kill them all!
But, yeah, I ended up downloading a Comixology app, going through that. Marvel has this, like, Netflix for digital comics that they have. It's, like, kind of like a similar service. Not everything's available, but I ended up using it and kind of getting into different comics, even, like, stuff from Image. And the one comic I really got into was this comic called Southern Bastards.
Heard that was good.
Yeah, I actually have a review of it on geekcastradio.com, and the basic premise of it is that it is this guy who goes back to his hometown that he grew up in to settle down his house. The house that his father left him was given to his uncle who passed away, so he has to kind of go back and like pack everything up and get it ready to be sold and whatnot. But when he goes back into this town, he notices that like kind of not what he remembers it being. I should preface it by saying like his dad was a sheriff and like he was known for cleaning up the town. Have you guys ever saw that movie Walking Tall or heard of it?
Oh yeah, I love that movie.
Yeah, there's a lot of similarities with this. Like it's like kind of almost like an inspired sequel, but not quite, where it's like his son goes back to the town who's older. The guy is like a mixture of like Clint Eastwood and John Wayne. He's kind of big and bulky. You know, his late 60s, Vietnam War veteran. He never wanted to have any relationship with, like, do what his father did. He didn't want to be in the police. He wanted to kind of get out of that town, but he's kind of found himself back there. And he notices that it's gotten worse again. Like, his dad cleaned it up, but since his dad has passed away, it's kind of became this depraved area, a lot of crime, a lot of drugs, and it's all run by, who else? The coach of the local football team. Which sounds kind of ridiculous, and a little bit is, but it actually ends up working. What's really cool about this story, though, is that it sets itself up, like I said, like with Walking Tall, this idea of this guy kind of fighting against destiny, trying to clean things up. But it's a lot more than that. You learn more about him as a character, and I just finished the 4th issue not too long ago, and you ever have one of those moments when you're reading a comic, you go through a page, something happens, and you're like, wait, no, that just happened? No, that couldn't. And you go back and forth like 4 or 5 times, like, no, wait, no, that couldn't have happened. One of the more shocking and more effective moments in comics that I have read in years, honestly, was with the 4th issue of Southern Bastards. Like, I thought I knew where this was going. I thought I figured, okay, here we go. This is the story we're having. But it was like this 3-issue long setup for this one moment that was perfect.
Somebody shitting in a bucket. And Dan was like, somebody actually listens to our podcast.
I was completely surprised. Then they did sequel, Reboot and Destroy, and then it was crazy. They did a letter at the end. I'm like, what are they doing?
And so now we're suing them.
Yeah,
That's the point of the story.
And then there's like an epilogue at the end that completely changes everything that you thought. So I haven't read the 5th issue yet, but it was really good up to that point. I was really loving it. I love the art style. It's really unique. It's by Image, who are like, honestly, everything I pick up from Image, I mean, I'm not picking everything up, but everything I do tends to be really good. I have this. I've read Deadly Class, East of West. A lot of great comics coming out of Image. And I would highly, highly recommend Southern Bastards. I don't think I'm really justifying it enough, but I would advise, I think I did a better job in my written review at geekcastradio.com, where I kind of go in more detail. And
check it out, fuckers. Check it out.
Yeah.
First word.
Yeah, that'll get him. That'll get him in the door.
I feel like you should have brought this in on the episode by saying, today we're going to talk about Southern Bastards.
We should.
And then we would have lost all of our Southern listeners on the podcast.
All those Southern. Yeah, I would recommend it. So I think the 5th issue is out. It just came out recently. I have not picked it up. I think maybe one episode later, we can debate the merits of digital comics, because I was very much against them, but I gotta say, after kind of the last few weeks, there are some merits to them. More so on a convenient aspect, though. It does not feel the same buying a digital comic as it does buying a physical form. You're like, I can't really put this in a long box.
Not satisfying.
No, it isn't. Not as satisfying. You don't get that great, like that really great feeling when you put a comic in its bag and board it and put it, just, you know what I mean? It's like, you own it, and it's just, yeah, you don't get that. Putting it in a file folder, it's not nearly as effective.
once you're done reading it, it's like a little trophy that, yes, I've completed this one thing.
Yeah,
Because I really don't complete anything else.
Yeah,
You can't hold it up and say, "This is mine."
exactly. And you can't go get it signed. Like if I try to get a digital comic signed, wouldn't work that well.
Can you sign this?
Sign my iPhone,
Yeah.
iPad.
I'm sure, like, give it like 20 years and that'll be a thing. So, alrighty. But Greg, I believe you also had the opportunity to read a comic. Is that not correct?
I did read a comic. It's actually part of a larger graphic novel, but it's well. Let me explain the whole thing first, because it's this huge graphic novel called Bad Doings and Big Ideas, and it's by Bill Willingham, who's the guy who created Fables, the graphic novel series that I love. And this is like a whole bunch of other stuff that he has written over his career. Some of them are more known, some of them less known. I haven't really heard of any of them, but one of the first series that he wrote in here was Proposition Player, and it was one of his first to start off into writing comics. And I thought it was really good. It started off kind of slow, and I was like, what the hell is this? And I wasn't really interested in it at the beginning, but it kind of had an interesting plot as we got really into it. It has to deal with this poker player who, if you don't know, casinos have people that sit at the table for them and play the game. They're an employee of the casino playing game, filling spots in to make it look more crowded, make it feel like it's a crowded place that everybody wants to get in on. And this guy is interested in building up his money so he could become a professional. But in the meantime, he's hanging out with a whole bunch of people that work there. And there's this whole situation where there's this bet that goes down. I forget exactly how it goes along, but essentially he wants the people to sell their soul to him and he'll buy them a beer. And he bets that people wouldn't do it or so. There's something there. I forget exactly what. But essentially, these people sign over their souls for a beer. And so, like, everything's kind of normal, but then all of a sudden this big guy shows up at his door and wants to buy those pieces of paper that he had people sign for their souls, and it's actually an angel. And then later on, here comes an agent of the devil that comes in, and they're trying to compete for these souls, but apparently, like, they're using these souls as a stock market, and you can actually become a deity if you possess souls, and you kind of see this guy progress up through it. And it's just kind of an interesting concept to me, an interesting idea of nothing I've really seen before in a comic. The art is actually by Bill Willingham, which I really don't care for the art that he has, but the story became so interesting to me after this angel came in, and he's a big, weird-looking dude that looks like he'd be shouting at you every 2 seconds. But it's quite an interesting take, and I wish it went a little bit further than it did. But Bill writes these little forewords at the beginning of the book, and he said that it wasn't selling too well, so they had to skip out of it early. So it's kind of a quick conclusion to the book, and you can kind of feel that. I wish it went a little bit further because I'd like to see more how it would progress to this end point. But it was a really interesting story, a really interesting take, like Bill Willingham kind of does on a lot of his stuff. So I'm really interested in reading the rest of the books in this huge graphic novel that I got for really cheap at the Baltimore Comic-Con.
So you said Bill Willingham, he's also behind Fables as well?
Yes, he's the gentleman behind Fables.
So does that comic exist in the same universe, or is it just completely separate?
It's in a different universe, and I think even says something in the foreword that he kind of sees this universe kind of existing in the Fables universe. So that's quite interesting that you actually bring that up, Dan.
See, I have the insight. Yeah. See how that works. That's rather interesting. I guess my one question too would be: does Martha Stewart get arrested for insider soul trading?
No, she does not get arrested for insider soul trading.
Because if you think there's anyone who would know a lot about selling souls, it would be Martha Stewart.
My cousin thinks she's a devil, being a demon.
I could see that. Like, there's something like overly nice about her that you're just like, something's off. She's either a serial killer or something.
Well, you hear people that used to work for her, and they're like, she's kind of a bitch. She wants things a certain way. And by the way, I never expected this podcast to be talking about Martha Stewart. I'm just throwing that out there.
Hey,
Neither did I expect pooping in a bucket, but Martha Stewart is way off.
hey, gotta get there somehow, right?
Yeah.
All right. You put up to anything else?
No, just that. I think I've been reading other stuff, but it's been so far away at this point that I'm having trouble remembering it, so I'm not going to talk about any of that.
Oh, I completely understand that. I was going to talk more about. I also read the Rocket Raccoon series by Scotty Young.
Really good. I've only read the first and second issue, but that's been a lot of fun.
Scotty Young is one of my favorite artists right now. I just love his, especially putting him in like a space story. Like he comes up with some really crazy designs and
it's very graffiti feel, very just kind of messy, but awesome at the same time.
Yeah, it almost feels like H.P. Lovecraft meets the people who made Fritz the Cat. It's insane. Very abstract. I mean, one time he has like a spaceship that's basically a gigantic fish, and one that's like a Buick, and it's insane. Like it's very interesting. So
have you seen that? I actually have a piece by Scotty Young. Did you ever see that? Did I ever show you that, Dan?
I don't believe I have. No.
Yeah, it's a Cyclops. It's a mixed media kind of piece. It's ink and watercolor, and it's 90s Cyclops.
Interesting. He's also been on. I've heard him on this one podcast I listened to called Film Junk, which is a movie podcast, and he was on there talking about Guardians of the Galaxy. Oddly enough, so I would recommend Rocket Raccoon too. It's just like a solo story, nothing like truly huge or scope. Nothing like a big event or anything like that. Just kind of more of a murder mystery per se. But it's a lot of great humor, so I would recommend that. Mostly, it's just great looking at his art. So it's unlike anything else I think really in Marvel right now. But yeah, so I think that's about it. Oh, I'd
recommend that one too as well.
Yeah, I should mention I was able to beat Greg in fantasy football this past week.
Let's bring that up.
I know. It did come down to the wire. The sad part is, being a Giants fan, they're playing on Monday night against the Colts, getting killed. The only thing I had riding on it was I needed Larry Donnell to outscore Ruben Randall, and it barely happened.
Got a fucking touchdown that destroyed me.
I know.
But setting up to this, we only had one player apiece left. You had Donnell, I had Randall, and I was 0.34 points ahead of you.
Yeah.
And I was like stretched it out to like a 1.1 lead or something, and then he gets the freaking touchdown. Then you win by 3 points.
Yeah, I would have lost by 3, but I won by 3 because of that touchdown. I'm like, nice.
I was doing so damn well too that you're in 4th place. I was 11th at the time, and it would have been a complete coup if I won that.
It would be like, a bigger upset than like the 1980 Olympic USA team beating Russia.
I'm just trying not to get the Sacco this year. I don't even think I'm going to make it to the playoffs. My team has been horrible this year. I've been trying to work the waiver wire, trade with people. I'm not sure if it's exactly been working or not. Now recently moved up to 10th, and I have your wife next week, so hopefully I can.
Don't say it like that. It just sounds wrong.
But congrats on your win, Dan.
Yeah, it was a hard-fought win.
This is why I'm drinking tonight also.
Hey, man, the Giants look awful, so I need something to make
Well, I've got the Vikings. With
True.
The
yeah, we're both
kind of, and the freaking horrible Teddy Bridgewater.
Yeah, and then Chuck's over there with his 32-0 win with the Dolphins.
Freaking 37.
I'm sorry. Man, I was looking at that game and I'm like, wait, why is that score wrong? I'm like, oh no, they actually.
Dolphins deserve a playoff run here, I think.
Just hoping they can dethrone those Patriots.
That's right. I pray for that every night, and I am not religious at all.
Brady will do that to you, though. All right, though. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, like I mentioned in this top of the show, we're going to get into our homework, and hopefully we all did it. You might hear some Saudi cramming before the end. So we'll see in a bit.
I went to a party the night before. That's also why I have the booze going on.
Remote Control is the new TV podcast from the GeekCast Radio Network. We'll be covering TV shows and topics from the year 2000 to whenever now is. We'll have special themed episodes entitled Pilot and Season Premieres, as well as finishing finales. We'll also have Season Pass episodes, where we take a look at an entire season of a TV show. Remote Control can be found on iTunes, Stitcher, and www.geekcastradio.com, so tune in, because we are all remote controlled.
Every week on the In Session Film Podcast, you can expect to hear reviews on all of the latest movies, big films, small films, and everything in between. We'll also do top 3 segments relating back to our main review. We discuss all of the latest movie news and rumblings, as well as have movie series and other fun segments. And we always talk about the films that we're watching and why you should watch them or not watch them as well. If you want to learn more about the In Session Film Podcast, check us out online at InSessionFilm.com. You can hear our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, TuneIn Radio, and so much more. In fact, you can listen to everything we have straight from our website. Again, that is InSessionFilm.com. Download our podcast, check us out, and come join us every week. We'd love to hear from you.
All right, and welcome back. Like I mentioned, today class is in session. We have given each other homework assignments to work on, and now it's our opportunity to give our responses to those assignments. So we're going to start off just by kind of going over what each of us had to do. For example, Greg, he gave me the comic Saga that we've been talking about a great deal. I've wanted to get into it for a while now, and finally Greg gave it to me. I should preface by saying that Greg gave me a lot of great movie choices, but of course, with my lack of life and watching too many movies, I saw most of them, so then we settled on Saga. But
there was no way I could win, people. No way I could win.
Yeah, I'm like, I feel really bad about this. I'm like, yeah, it's a good choice. I kind of saw it. I apologize. And then Chuck did give me a movie I have not seen, and I'll get to that in a little bit. He gave me the movie Undisputed 2, which was, I believe that was part of the one top 5 for the underappreciated or underknown films. Correct, Chuck? Am I right in that assessment?
Yeah, that made my list. I think it was number 1 on my list.
Nice. So I hope so. A lot of praise from Chuck. So hopefully I do him right with my response to that film. Greg, what were the assignments that you were given?
I was given a graphic novel by Dan last time I saw him, which I think was around the Baltimore Comic-Con, of Irredeemable, because he thought it would get me a little bit closer into kind of liking Superman, I think. I think there was a little bit of a trick there a little bit.
I feel like this is a Superman Greg would like, because it's very influenced by that character. So, yeah, we'll get into that in a little bit. But
I was given by Chuck an STD, Ghost of Darkness.
That is not true. I did not give Greg an STD.
He had it already.
It was a Ghost of Darkness, a movie with Val Kilmer, who actually looked good in the film, besides Top Gun.
Though you didn't give that assignment to me, Chuck, I did watch that movie, so I can maybe chime in on that as well not too long ago. So
it's a 3-way
recommendation. Nice. So Chuck, what were your assignments?
I actually didn't have any assignments because I had a homework voucher.
Oh, son of a... That's what you get.
I won the last game of Silent Ball, so I got the free homework voucher.
Oh, Silent Ball. Oh, man.
The classic teacher's method of getting the class to shut up and be quiet.
See, ours was heads up, 7-up.
Oh, we did that
too. Yeah, we did that too,
yeah. Oh, man. Back in the day.
But no, actually, let's see, by Greg, I was given a choice in movies, and I selected the original 1951, The Day the Earth Stood Still.
Oh, wow, we're going old school.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's got Aunt Bee from Andy Griffith in it. You know it's going to be awesome.
Craziness. And let's see, by Dan, I was given the graphic novels of The Ultimates by Marvel, which is the Ultimate Universe version of the Avengers.
We talked about the DVD cartoons of those a while back. I remember you mentioning you liking them, so I figured I'd see what your thoughts are on the actual graphic novel. So I know you've been hesitant to get into the Ultimate Universe, and I thought if there's any opportunity that would happen, it'd be with those comics. So see how it goes. But I think we're going to start off with the assignments that Chuck gave out. So like we mentioned, Ghost in the Darkness to Greg, and for myself, he gave me the movie Undisputed 2. And I was a little worried going into the movie since I've never seen the first Undisputed, but I think you mentioned to me that doesn't really matter, and it really doesn't. And for those that don't know, the movie Undisputed 2 follows a character played by Michael Jai White. He is like a boxer, kickboxer, former heavyweight champ, currently on hard times. When we meet him, he's in Russia doing a commercial. Forget exactly what it's for, but I believe he's not a big fan of it. He's having, at the same time, in a Russian underground prison fight, we meet Scott Adkins' character, who is like, imagine if you took the Russian and Ken Shamrock, put him into one, and like added even more badassness. That is like his character in this.
Yeah.
With the goatee and like gigantic muscles and tattoos. Like the guy just looks badass to no end. Scott Adkins, like I've been a fan of him for a while. It's not maybe a household name because of his acting skill, but he's a well-known choreographer for stunts. He's been in pretty much every big action movie you could think of, Expendable franchise, and you'll see him in a lot of movies. You may not recognize him, but he's there, and he's one of those guys who maybe doesn't get the credit he deserves because he's a huge a part of making like modern action what it is. So seeing him in like a main role like this, I thought was great, and he really handled it well. He does make a really good villain, and I was actually reading it that like it became hard for him because he had to put on so much muscle that he had to relearn how to do things like backflips and things like that. Because he was never really that big before. In this, he's like Brock Lesnar type of big.
Brock Lesnar is a douche, by the way.
He looks like a douche. So it's like someone like was making a face and then gave up, and that's Brock Lesnar. But the story is kind of one similar that you've probably seen before. But I think it falls in the same lines of the first Undisputed, where Michael Jai White's character is wrongfully accused, basically set up and arrested. They plant drugs on him by the Russian army. I should mention he's in Russia. Drugs get planted on him before it's put in the jail, obviously because they want him to fight Scott Adkins' character, who's kicking the crap out of everyone. No one ever stands a chance. It's kind of like Bloodsport meets Oz in that way. And I think what's really great about this, the best part of Undisputed, which I should say I did enjoy, it reminds me of like those classic 80s action films that we don't get nearly enough anymore. Like this could have been made during the Stallone, Schwarzenegger era, but it's not necessarily over the top. There aren't really any explosions. It's just really like tough as nails, like balls to the wall action that, because both Michael Jai White and Scott Adkins have a huge martial arts background, and I think that plays into this where like they're doing their own stunts. Their fighting feels real. It's not too over the top. It's not like Rocky IV where it's like, yeah, that's a great fight to watch, but it's not like it represents real life boxing. I think this is more true to life, but not too true to life, like something like The Fighter, where boxing's a little bit more stale. So I do think the action scenes are really well handled. I was actually surprised though when I saw the setup. I thought it was going to be like, okay, so it's going to be like a tournament type of movie where they, you see them rise, like fight each other and whatnot, but really there isn't that many matchups per se. There's action in it, but it becomes a story, a lot more plot than I anticipated. The politics of the jail, and I almost wondered if it would have been better if it was more stereotypical but not like if it followed that generic plot line. Not that the plot was bad, I just wanted to see this fight happen, and it really makes you wait for it.
Yeah.
So you get some glimpses here and there. If anything, there was maybe a little bit too much plot going on, which is a weird thing to say. But yeah, I did like the setting. I do like Michael Jai White as an actor for a film like this. I think he has a physicality to him. For those that don't know, if you've seen the show The Arrow, you probably have seen him. He played, was it White Tiger?
Saga. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was not even close.
White Tiger is in Marvel.
Yeah, and it's a female, so yeah. He's the guy. He had the like Wolverine like claws. I did greatly enjoy it, like I said, and I think the action is worth. Heard that it's much better than the first one. I don't know. Have you seen the first Undisputed, Chuck?
Yeah, it's light years better than the first one.
Is it like follow a similar plotline?
I guess in the vaguest sense. I mean, the first one was Ving Rhames and Wesley Snipes, and Ving Rhames played the part of George Chambers, but and that was kind of the same thing where like this guy was beating everyone, so they brought him in so that they weren't losing so much money on the bets. It was someone that could like challenge the winner, but this one kind of like improved upon it. It's like a sequel, but it's like almost like redoing the first one in a way. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like taking that title of it and kind of just using it as more of a not media, but a marketing standpoint.
Yeah.
Because I don't necessarily think you need to see the first one, but I'd be curious just to go back and see the similarities between them. And I think there's a third one too. Is there?
Yeah,
not?
there is. And the third one just has Scott Adkins in it. He's the central character. That one's actually pretty good too, but I think the second one is a little bit better.
I like him a lot, his character, and it's kind of a machine, but I did like how that he wasn't necessarily interesting because he's not necessarily the villain per se. It's more of the politics of the situation.
Yeah,
really.
you think he's the villain, but then you kind of realize that he does have a sort of honor about him.
Like the honor among thieves type of what comes to, especially when fighting. He's ruthless, but he has necessarily rules, but he has ethics that he does follow when it comes to fighting. So I would definitely recommend it. And usually we give grades with these, and I would give Undisputed 2 a strong B+. And so if you like those like 80s action films, or I don't know if that's accurate to say the same vein as those per se. Like it's not as over the top with like the explosions, but
it's kind of like a Bloodsport type movie, Kickboxer or something like that, but it's kind of done a little bit better.
I think the fights in Bloodsport don't have the impact that they do in Undisputed 2.
Yeah, plus you don't have all the
exactly.
But that's the main reason I kind of gave this to you, because just for the fight scenes, it's just amazing. The choreography. I will say too, the one of my favorite parts of the movie, favorite things about the movie is the general like interaction between Scott Adkins' character and Michael J. White's character, like when they meet in the cafeteria and like random places, like just the interaction between them, like that bravado where they're trying to one up each other and act tougher than one
another
another.
One's lunch money, and somebody gets a wedgie.
It kind of reminded me of like the most intense wrestling rivalries, where it's just like a lot of heavy breathing and stare downs, and like it just.
But it's not corny though. It's like
not corny. More so just like
legitimately intimidating. It's like, wow, these guys are pretty badass. But it's obvious that it's just two egos like kind of going at each other.
But yeah, like I said, I would recommend it. Gave it a B+. So
very nice.
I guess question now, Greg, you also were given a movie, so what did you feel about Ghost in the Darkness?
Unlike the movie that Dan got from Chuck, mine was a little bit more intellectual and more about man versus nature. And it was more of a historical film.
Yeah, Chuck didn't think I could handle that, so he's like, nope, you can go.
Yes, Greg's the highfalutin one that really needs a historical, almost documentary type of film. But
no, it was pretty much just like Greg's assignments. Dan saw everything that I recommended, so I come up with something deep in my bag.
But I really thought it was really good. It's Val Kilmer. I feel like some people think he's hit or miss. I definitely thought this one was a hit. And it was great because it was one of the roles where he's not an amorphous blob of a man. He actually looks good in this role. He's a military man. That's he's kind of like the Seabees. He's sent out to set up this bridge, and by this douchey British guy.
You just say British guy.
Yeah. Nerdly UK is gonna hate me for that one, but but he's sent out while his wife is pregnant, and Val Kilmer is super excited to experience Africa. And when he gets there, there's this lion that keeps attacking, and he shoots the shit out of that lion, and everybody's like, yay, Val Kilmer, he killed that freaking lion. So when it keeps going on, everybody's like, what the fuck, man? What the fuck? And so this really holds up his bridge making thing. It's not the right lion, so everybody thinks that he's the one that brought this lion, and it's not actually a lion, it's the ghost in the darkness. But it's really well acted by him, and Michael Douglas, who is like first in the credits, is not in there anywhere close to the amount of time that Val Kilmer's in there. It's a great story. The only thing that I thought was kind of a really hilarious moment for kind of how serious this movie was. I kind of picked up this one scene is kind of a dream sequence, so I kind of figured it out ahead of time. but his wife comes to visit after he supposedly kills the ghost in the darkness. And she's walking down and she's like, honey, hi. And she's got the baby and everything. And she keeps running towards him. Hi, hi. And he's excited. He's like, hi, honey, hi. And he's running towards her. And then off in the high grass, he sees the tail of the ghost in the darkness, quote unquote, coming through this lion.
Well, no, wait a minute. The ghost and the darkness is the two lions. That's
okay.
That's one name for each lion. One's the ghost and one's the darkness.
Did not know that. So which one was coming through the high grass then? Was it the ghost or the darkness? Because it was light out, so I'm assuming it was the ghost.
I would say it's the ghost, yeah.
Okay. We'll go with the ghost. It was coming through the high grass. And he notices and he's like, honey, go back. But she's oblivious because she's a woman. Joking. And so
So really pissing off the women UK listeners right now.
Yes, I'm hitting both demographics that we probably don't get. And so she's running at him going, honey, hi, and she keeps yelling. But it's just hilarious when the lion does hit because it looks like some bit take on SNL that does not look real at all. Like she gets a shot of her running and like 1 second frame, a lion's coming through and like just plows into her, and the next second it's out. It's like maybe 3 frames of film that this all happens in, so it's really comical how she gets taken out.
And so we learned that Greg really loves to see women getting killed by lions.
He wakes up from the dream and he's all like, and I'm there laying in bed just laughing my ass off. My parents are asleep, so I'm trying to muffle it. That scene was hilarious, but the other parts of the film are really great. Michael Douglas plays an excellent crazy man.
Plays is a strong word.
But it's kind of got a little bit of a horror film feel to it, and it's a little bit like Jaws as well. I thought so. It's Jaws with a lion. I know Kevin Smith is making Jaws with a moose, but this film was a really well done lion Jaws film. Especially loved the part with the monkey out as bait. It was kind of creepy, scary, and him on this kind of like a big stand that he had constructed. And by the way, there's also a part in the film where he puts he builds this giant trap. It's like a giant kind of a trailer type of thing where he sets up these bars and he has men on one side and the lion kind of roams into the other, and he triggers the door to close behind the lion, so he's kind of caged in there, and the men are with their guns can just kind of aim their guns in and shoot. Like, those men did not hit that freaking lion once. They just had to get a little bit closer, aim up their shot, but no, they're pissing their pants. And I'm like, dude, you guys could have had this lion like so easy. And like that just frustrated me. It was a great part of the story and everything. And like that plan should have definitely worked. It was a little bit frustrating, so it worked really well for the movie and the storyline. But I thought it was a really great movie. I definitely would give it like an A-. I recommend it to anybody going in with a lot of the films that you guys like, and I'm like always on going into the film. This is like Taken. The first time we went to see Taken, I was like, it doesn't look that great. But then you guys were like, oh, let's go see Taken. And I really enjoyed it afterwards. This falls into the same kind of category.
It's been a while since I've watched it, but I remember me looking how they use a lot of like shots from the perspective of the lion. Like you see that a lot, shot down low, and like you said, it very much in the realm of that of Jaws, where you can definitely see the influence there, especially with the score.
Yeah, there was a couple of weird scenes where it was kind of like a weird X-ray or night vision goggle type of thing that was kind of weird for me, but
yeah, and it's interesting because it does like ride that line of like, is it mythical or is it what's going on there? But yeah, and Michael Douglas was he does have a really great character introduction. It's funny because when we talked about this one, I was looking for clips because we're doing the episode, and I didn't realize the clip that I took was his like introduction into the movie. But yeah, it's a really great. I love really good character introductions, and that's definitely one of them. So he makes his presence known like immediately.
Well done, Chuck.
Your assignments are doing both pretty well.
Cool. Glad you guys like them.
All right, so I guess now, Chuck, move on to you and maybe go over the assignment that Greg gave you with the day that Earth stood still.
Yeah, sure. This was obviously the original, not the Keanu Reeves remake.
Because that'd
You're
be mean
welcome.
if you made me watch that one.
Yeah, that I probably would have refused that assignment. No,
I would refuse it as well.
but I like this movie a lot. I gotta say, I am kind of a sucker for the old the old type of scary horror type movies from like the 50s and stuff like that. I was a big fan of The Blob and stuff like that.
Steve McQueen.
This had like a similar feel to it, like the panic, the paranoia of the general populace and stuff. And this kind of was one that was kind of always on the back burner for me that I kind of always wanted to check out, but I never really got the chance to. So I'm glad I got the opportunity to take this assignment. But I guess the biggest thing that sticks out to me is that this is a good movie without having a ton of action and special effects and everything. It's just like, to me, it's like good acting and good storytelling, and that's all it needs to tell a great story. Yeah, like it tells a great story. It stands on its own 2 feet, and I really like that about it. And I think like I also respect the fact that like, and I'll give a little bit of background on it, but it's basically like, they show like this sort of disc coming through the sky, and everybody on the ground starts seeing it, and they're kind of in Washington D.C. Which, by the way, why is it always Washington D.C.? It's either that or New York City. I don't know.
It's always the United States of America. That's always where they go.
They never land in like Bismarck, North Dakota, or something like that.
Maybe they have, and no one's noticed.
You mean this isn't the central hub of your world?
Let's land by the giant penis statue. No.
We're gonna go to Scranton next. It's like, oh no. We've just been carjacked. It's just weird.
If they land in Scranton, they'd be like, we don't want this planet, we're leaving. But anyway, like they kind of they circle over Washington D.C. and everybody's like, oh my gosh, what is that? And then it starts to land, and they're like, oh my god, and it's funny too, because I read like as I'm acting it out, but it's funny, like I was reading that the director, when he did the part when it was landing in the mall there in Washington D.C., like he had people, like all the extras, like running away from it, like scattering, and this really wide angle shot. And he did like several takes of this, and like the people could not run fast enough. Like it didn't look like they were panicked, and he kept telling them to run faster, and it didn't look right. So reluctantly he just went with it, and they ended up speeding up the film for the actual movie, and it kind of looks fake in that scene with like people running.
Those are some of the best things.
Yeah, but it's like he had to do it because it didn't look convincing the other way either. It looked too slow. So I guess it looks better on the fast end. But
they are gingerly strolling away from that UFO.
It's like when you see the creepy guy across the street, you're just kind of like, kind of cautiously move over.
School just let out, you guys. Look at everybody sleeping at school.
But, this thing lands. And I guess that's kind of where some of my questions start in. And I'm not like bashing the movie or anything. It's just stuff I thought was like kind of funny if you look at it a certain way. So like the thing lands and nothing happened for 2 hours. Everyone was waiting. Like, what are they doing inside that spaceship? They're just waiting there for 2 hours.
It's a giant circle jerk.
Like I was just trying to picture like stuff that they were talking about, because
I don't think anything was really happening inside, because probably spoiler alert right here. But the alien is out well beforehand, kind of roaming the city, checking things out, and getting acclimated with the city and with the world in general, and with people of the planet.
I think that comes after the first time he comes out, though.
Okay, it's been a while since I've actually seen it. One of my favorite films, but it's actually been a while since I've actually seen the film.
Yeah, and the other funny thing is, like, you know how, like, they kind of, the military just, like, basically mobilizes, and just, you see, like, all these tanks coming out of this, like, military compound, and I never knew that you could drift with a tank.
You totally can. It's
like they come out of this thing fast, and they just take a 90-degree corner, and this tank just like drifts across the road. It's like.
Have you not seen Fast and the Furious 7?
I know.
where they race tanks on the moon?
Fast and the Furious 7 tanks a lot.
This guy must have been like Vin Diesel's like grandfather or something.
Tanks a lot. That's just don't give them ideas. I could see that. That's a ludicrous line waiting to happen in Fast and Furious movies.
So yeah, so they land and everything, and you know he says he comes in peace, and it's like the classic alien lines and everything. And there's this one really nervous soldier that just shoots him because he thinks he's reaching for something. And I feel
Thanks,
like that's...
guy. Thanks for screwing up everything for everybody else on the planet.
That's the kind of dick move I could totally see someone doing. Just like...
It's me. I'm the military man.
Guy's like reaching to scratch himself. He's like, oh, so I'm reaching for a gun. But
he was reaching for his Thor's hammer.
But so that we see that the alien's name is Klaatu, and the other thing I respect about this movie is they didn't need to go for this big goofy looking alien. It was a human actor with some solid acting skills, basically.
Yeah.
Like, you know, somebody, you know, you don't have to go and give him, you know, antennas and 6 eyes and all that crap.
Or make him look like Keanu Reeves, which is hard enough.
Yeah, that's even more scary. But you know, and he has this robot with him called Gort, and that's kind of his protective robot, and it's his I guess you could say it's his tool / weapon that he uses for everything / bodyguard too, you could say. He gets shot in the shoulder, so they take him to, I think it's like Walter Reed Hospital or something like that, the guy even says. And I was like, oh wow, that still exists. And...
Weird thing, he's actually still waiting.
So he kind of gets better and like explains to the secretary to the president that he needs to speak to all the world's leaders. He's got something really important to say. And he's like, we can't do that because none of us get along and nobody wants to meet up.
The world is
Facebook
so
doesn't
emo.
exist, so it's difficult.
Yeah, and he can't create a Facebook account, so...
No, Skype isn't around yet, so that's kind of makes it. There's all these different things. That movie was really ahead of its time.
But the funny part is, like, I guess they show 2 doctors. This was the funniest part of the movie for me, even though it's not a funny movie. But there's 2 doctors in this other room, and they're talking about how the one guy patched him up. He's like, you know, I got the bullet out of there, and I patched him up, and he's already healed and everything.
I'm going to sell the bullet on eBay.
And they're like, oh, wow, you know, how does that, you know, how's he already healed and this and that? And so they're kind of sitting there, and the doctor's like, yeah, you know what he told me? He's like, you know, back on his planet. Well, first of all, he says, how old do you think this guy is? And the guy's like, I don't know, 35. And the other doctor's like, he told me he's 78. And he's like, what? So, just like that.
The other doctor was like, WTF?
And so he's like, yeah, he says he's 78 years old. He's like, no way. And he's like, yeah, you know what else he told me? The life expectancy on his planet is 130 years. So the other doctor says to the first doctor, he says, really? 130 years? He's like, how the heck do they figure that? Right as he's handing the other guy a cigarette. And they're both lighting up cigarettes. It's like, oh, how do they figure that if they live 130 years? Like, what the...
Well, they have math on their planet, and this is also an anti-cigarette movie.
Start coughing. It's like, man, I gotta really stop that jogging. It's really gonna get to me.
Like, I guess we'll never know if they did that on purpose or probably not. But I thought it was just really ironic It's like handing the guy a cigarette, and he's like, I don't know how anybody could live 130 years.
These are really healthy.
You guys are doctors. I'm sure you could figure it out.
We write you a prescription for opium to clear up your common cold.
Yeah.
No.
We'll bleed you, if something's wrong with you.
Yeah.
Bloodletting. But, so, and then he, like, escapes from the room, and nobody knows how he escapes, yet there was no one guarding the door. And they literally show these two guards. They're like, how did he get out? Like, because no one was in front of the door. Like, he broke the lock and he snuck out. Like, so he goes and he rents this apartment in this house thing. And which is a weird situation too, but like everyone lives in this house. They have their own rooms, but they all eat breakfast together. What's the deal with that? I don't know.
Yeah, it's like a B&B, but
yeah,
kind of apartments.
So, and that's when we kind of see Aunt B from the Andy Griffith Show.
Who, by the way, I freaking hate. I hate Aunt B. Like, Andy Griffith Show.
Oh, that's just wrong. Come on. It's pure goodness.
I hate Aunt B. She is so annoying on the Andy Griffith Show.
Now, Andy. No. Sorry,
Andy. Where are you going, Andy?
So she had a minor role, like just showing up here
Very
and there.
Minor, yeah. It was kind of interesting to see, though.
I won't go into too much detail about the rest of it, but, basically, he wants to kind of, I guess you could say, assimilate the society and sort of see things from their perspective, see how people think and act. So he kind of like, this is completely random, but there's this lady and her son that live in this house, and the lady's dating this guy, and he wants to take her out somewhere, and she's like, what am I going to do with my kid? And this alien comes out, and he's like, I'll watch him. And she's like, okay.
1950s.
What a different time.
But I just thought, how trusting was that society that she leaves her only son to this total stranger that she has no clue who he is. Mr. Carpenter is his name, by the way. He's like, oh, I'll watch him. He's like, yeah, I'd be happy to. And she's like, oh, okay, that works well.
Seems legit. Random stranger coming out to babysit a 12-year-old boy for no apparent reason.
Like, you just met this guy 2 days ago, just watching a kid. But it's funny because they go walk around town, and the kid's really, taken to him and everything, and he thinks he's a real swell guy and all this stuff.
By the way, actual use of the word swell in this movie.
Yeah. That was the time when you could say the word swell and not get made fun of.
Gee, mister, you're really swell.
Yeah.
You're a swell gay guy, and it not be creepy. Well, not that it's creepy now, but like,
Gee, you're swell for not raping me, mister.
Your little boy voice is really creepy. Just that you're that good at it.
I am also really I'm really good at doing a gay kind of female voice.
You're like a Gabriel Iglesias.
Fluffy? I'm fluffy? Been working on my diet and working out, man.
So yeah, and it was interesting just to watch this character try to see things from their point of view, and he seeks out this professor because he thinks he's the only one that can kind of understand his super genius. And it was kind of like Reed Richards coming to Earth in a sense, because this alien Klaatu is like super smart and everything, but it makes for a really interesting movie. And it's not a scary movie by any means. Like it's maybe for back then it kind of was, like maybe it freaked people out, but it just keeps your attention. It's a very suspenseful movie. It's very interesting. Like I said, just the storytelling and the interaction with the characters is good enough to keep your attention, which is kind of a rare quality in a lot of movies.
Yeah, I also have seen The Day the Earth.
Of course you have, Dan. Of course you have.
I know. The sad part is I watched the remake before I saw the original, which is probably sacrilegious. But have any of you guys seen the remake as well?
Actually, I haven't.
Don't worry, that's not something
I was told specifically not to watch it.
Yes,
so.
You're welcome.
Yeah, but yeah, I do really like the Earth. So it's kind of interesting, like old school sci-fi where like it's only elements of sci-fi when really it's just a drama behind it.
Yeah,
So.
and it's usually with these older type of movies, the pacing is very slow, but I think the intensity that kind of keeps up through the entire movie, where it doesn't really need to move fast. So I think the age that it was made in kind of went well with the pacing of the movie.
One thing I'd recommend too that's along the same lines as the original Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Recommend that, and I think it's actually on Netflix. So.
Yeah, Netflix.
But one other thing I wanted to add was the main actor that plays Klaatu, which is, I believe, Michael Rennie. I really liked the small stuff he did in this. Just like, I mean, just little things like when he sees someone like lock a door in fear, he just kind of smiles, and it's like, I don't know. It just gets you thinking about what's going on in this alien's head. Like, it's just things that are thought provoking and stirs up a lot of questions in you just by these small little gestures and facial expressions he has. And I really love the work that they put into that, into the detail. So I would say my closing phrase would be Klaatu Barada Nikto, which is apparently a very famous phrase now. But I would have to say, I would have to grade this as an A-. I liked it a lot.
Wow. The grades are, I think, even higher than last time.
I think so.
The question is, will the trend continue? Now I'm worried, like, all right, so all of the stuff you guys gave got really high grades, so my stuff sucks. I'm going to feel bad. But yeah, it's the way cookie crumbles, I guess. So, like I mentioned, Greg gave me the comic Saga that I've been wanting to get into, and Greg's talked a great deal. I believe that and Fables were in your top 5 of favorite comics, correct?
I think so. If my terrible memory serves me.
I think I like them.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure if I put them in my top 5 at that moment in time, but I do love those comics. I've been really stretching out and mostly hitting up and loving Image Comics lately.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about them a little bit already. With Southern Bastards and a few other comics I've mentioned. There's something freeing about reading a comic that exists in its own universe, and you don't have to worry about 40 years of history and continuity.
Yeah, you feel a little bit more relaxed. Like, well.
Yeah, this is one book I can just follow from straight to end. And what's kind of interesting in saying that is for Saga being a space opera, just like how many characters it combines into one comic and does it so well. It's like if you took the entire Marvel universe and like try to basically break it down into one book per se, or at least for half of the Marvel universe, and focused on the main parts of it. For those that don't know, like we mentioned, it is an Image comic. It's written by Brian K. Vaughan, and the artist is Fiona Staples.
And they're both excellent. And Brian K. Vaughan is doing a lot of great work on different stuff, like Why the Last Man. He's one of the producers on Under the Dome, which I really enjoyed.
Yeah. I guess a lot of people, the big claim, like the comparison people would say is like Star Wars meets Game of Thrones. And I see elements of that, and it's more with like a Romeo and Juliet twist, because the actual plot of the story is that it takes place in this universe where you have 2 warring planets. Well, one planet in its moon, with the Horns and the Wings. And, there are 2 people who don't really get along, but what they've done, because they're so close to each other, their feud has kind of split across the universe, and each planet has had to be able to kind of indicate where they stand within this, are they with the Horns or are they with the Wings? And what happens is the 2 main characters in Saga are your classic Romeo, star-crossed lover story of Alina, who is part of the Wings faction, and then Marco, who is a Horn. If you saw the cover of Saga, you'll know who he is, because he has like the horns that look like a ram, and Alina has like smaller wings, like a
pixie fairy type of thing. But Fiona Staples does like gorgeous artwork, and female characters gorgeous. Marco looks freaking great. Fiona Staples is just amazing.
Yeah, and her character designs are great because they're not too like over the top by any means. They are like they look very realistic, and in that vein. What's really great too with her art is just the coloring. There's something about the colors she uses that are so
it's so bright and kind of a positive, like upbeat color palette that's going on.
Yeah, I love the blues that she uses
and teals,
especially with it's the colors that you don't really see that really she knows how to accent them really well. So it's like it's not overly bright. It's not like something like a 1980s retro with that, but it's like modern brightness, I guess.
And then also with the design of the graphic novels in general, it's and the comic books, they're not just stuffing stuff into the comic book to get more material in. They're leaving like a lot of open, positive space in the book, which just kind of gives it another aspect of relaxing because you're not inundated by stuff. It kind of gives it this relaxed feel because there's even like a blank page with just, I think, the title on there or something. It's been a while since I looked at my Saga graphic novels, and I have to pick up the third one yet. But just the whole design and layout is just kind of minimalistic. And that's just kind of a breath of fresh air because you're not being inundated by things.
Minimalist is a good word because it almost even describes the plot in a lot of ways. Because with Marco and Alina, they are two people that kind of fall in love. Marco is a prisoner of war, and Alina his prison guard per se, and they ended up getting a relationship. And this is not like giving any spoilers because this is right in the beginning of the book, and they have a child, and it becomes the two planets that they are on both want to do away with both of these characters. They just want them, but they also don't want people to know they exist. So a lot of the plot is just like a chase story, really. It's them just trying to get away and become safe. And what's really interesting about the book too is there's almost no heroes and villains per se. All the characters are flawed in some way. The people that are going after characters, like the bounty hunter, the freelancers, the one's called the Will, who's one of the major characters. No one's ever overly evil. Everyone has like legit motivations. Like people are kind of put in situations. It's not the person's motivations that makes them evil. It's basically the situation that they're put in that they have to. Like there's one character called Prince Robot IV.
The characters are so great in this because it's such a weird and interesting world.
It's such a it's so I can't think of the word I'm trying to think of.
Eclectic was kind of doing it for me there.
Yeah, because you'll have like a character like a hamster that's just like a normal hamster, but anthropomorphized.
We're all nailing this word. Chuck, do you want to try?
Anna Kournikova.
Nailed it.
Exactly, they're all Anna Kournikova. It is like there's a lot of characters that have look like animals, but some are human, and I love the robot characters because they have TV screens for faces, and especially when you see the king of the robot planet, which I thought hilarious. There's a lot of great humor in it too, just really sly humor, really smartly written, and throughout the person that's kind of narrating the story is the child of Alina and Marco, and her narration comes in and out, and it's almost at times unreliable per se, where it's leading you down a certain path, but then it kind of purposely tricks you in some ways, in clever and interesting ways. But a lot of great characters. It reminds me of like I said, Game of Thrones or The Wire is a good comparison because you can go an issue or two and not even be with the main characters, but you don't notice just because of how many great characters there are. There's just a lot. And they're really great at introducing a character, getting you to know that character, or expanding upon it. It's a book that never dumbs down. It will go at the pacing of it is really incredible. It never slows down, but it never really gets caught up in the plot. Like I said, it's weird. It's hard to explain. If I wrote down the major plot points of the book. The overall plot, not a great deal happens, yet a ton of stuff different happens, really. Within the first 12 issues, it's, like I said, it's this chase that they're trying to get away, and it's not like they get really that far,
and they don't even know where they're going, even.
No. You have no idea where the plot's gonna go because I'm actually caught up. I'm on the 24th issue, and at this point, they're still kind of with the same. The arc is still going. The main arc of them trying to capture these characters, and it's a storyline that would mainly be like 4 or 5 issues, but it's the entire comic so far. So, which you would think is a bad thing, but it really isn't, just because there's so much going on and so many different little wrinkles. They'll take a break here and there, and then and then suddenly something will happen and completely shift focus. There's really great the end of the 24th issue, which is the most recent one, led to a really unexpected partnership between some characters that you would not think would go with one another. But yeah, I highly recommend it. I honestly loved it. Like, I talked about how I got into like this fever pitch of wanting to get in the comics, and it's largely because of like Saga kind of started me there. So like it reminded me of why I love comics. And, like, this really great storytelling, really great characters, brings you in this really unique, different world that you've never really been in before. Has influences in certain places, but also is just like super original and new and refreshing.
It also reminded me of why I'm a geek and why I love to read this kind of stuff, and why I like to be involved in this whole genre of life.
Yeah, I think a good representation of like creative nature of good storytelling when it comes to comic books and what you can do with that medium, because it really uses that well. And there's it's great because I didn't know really anything about Saga. I just kind of knew that what you mentioned, Greg, and I've heard of certain characters like the Lion Cat and how that works out. But it's really cool. It's just like you never know what it's gonna do or what wrinkle it's gonna add, and I just love the universe that it slowly builds and slowly expands upon. So, Chuck, I'm not sure. I think I would highly, honestly, recommend you picking it up too, or at least the first comic or two, see if you like it. Because I, without a doubt, I love the comics. I would honestly give it an A+.
Wow, highest rating so far.
Like I said, man, I was blown away. Like, I read 24 issues within like 2-week period. So, which is hard. Like, I had to find time for it. Again, big reason why I went to digital comics, but yeah, I was going to bed every night reading it. I just couldn't wait for the next issue.
Carol's like, "What are you reading, Tan? You've been reading feverishly."
And like, I tried to get her into it. I'm like, "I think you'll like this. Let me explain why." And it didn't really go well. It went better than me trying to getting her into Sex Criminals, the Matt Fraction book. I'm like, "I think you'll like this book. It's about like when two people have sex, they have the ability to slow time."
I feel like that one's a really hard sell.
Yeah, she's like, "Why would you think I would like that book?"
You think I'm some kind of pervert, Daniel?
I'm like, "Yeah, that's a good point. I don't know why I thought you would like that book, but yeah, it was a good day for me because I got a good homework assignment for me because I got to watch a really good movie with Undisputed 2 and read a really great comic with Saga. So yeah, I would highly recommend it. So not much more to say. Anything else you want to say about Saga?
No, I could probably go off on Saga for quite a while. It's so good.
Chuck, do you ever have any interest in that book at all, or?
No, I can't say that I have, honestly. Haven't really heard much about it until now, but
I would the bad thing about having digital comics, I can't give you one of them, but
here's my tablet, Chuck.
I know it's gonna sound narrow-minded, but I'm usually really good at picking out what I'm gonna like or not, and I kind of doubt I would like it, but.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's a little risque in some parts. Like it's not for children. Really, it got some sexual graphic images going on. I definitely don't think Chuck would enjoy those aspects of it. Really,
that definitely was noticeable in the first few issues. Then it dies down and then kind of goes back up.
Yeah.
With it.
It shows up.
Bad thing about to say sexual images that they go back and forth, but
they go up and down as well.
I don't know if you'd like it. Be honest with you, part of me thinks maybe you would, but like you said, it's.
And I've tried to keep an open mind to move into other types of comics and stuff, but I'm just so invested in Marvel and DC stuff. I'm just so happy there on that little cloud.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was hard for me to get just off the Marvel cloud.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, I've tried other stuff, and some stuff is okay, but I just don't get into that stuff.
Fair enough. All right. So now I'm curious to hear what you guys have to to say. And Greg, you haven't gone over one of your homework assignments in a while, so I gave you the comic
Irredeemable,
Irredeemable,
which I enjoyed because it's by Mark Waid, who did a great job on a different graphic novel that I read, and I'm not coming up with the name of it right now with my awful memory. But it's mentioned in a podcast a long time ago, because we've been on Geekcast Radio for such a long time. But it's one of these comic books. It's by Boom Studios, and it's one of those publishers that you don't really hear much from. So I'm just going to throw out there that the artwork is just about average, but I really enjoyed the story. And the funny thing about the storyline is that I kind of had an idea for a novel that I'm trying to write that's kind of in the same vein of a good guy really turning bad or evil. So the main storyline I find interesting, since I'm also trying to write about something like this. The premise of the graphic novel is that there is this one superhero that is like the best of them all, and just he's essentially Superman. He's got these massive powers where he essentially cannot be beaten by any other superhero in the entire world, or even villain. And he is like not really that well known. Like his personal life or his personal information is not well known by anybody. And essentially he goes evil and starts killing his teammates and his bad guys and everybody. It's been a while since I read it. It's been like since a week or two ago. I got done with my homework early. I'm not sure if I get points for overachieving. But maybe, Dan, if you want to remind me of why he kind of goes nutso.
Really, like within the first graphic novel, we're not 100% sure exactly the reasoning behind it. It kind of hints at it. It's been a while. It's been like a long time since I've seen it.
Well, there's this one scene where he's on the roof and the other guy asks him, how do you kind of stay in control, or how do you not lash, like how do you control all of this power? Like that must be a lot on your shoulders, which I kind of felt was the main takeaway of the book. I felt like there was a lot of weight behind that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like a complete meltdown where it's like he just couldn't handle it anymore, so it's just like, all right, this enough. It's like you can't really handle the pressure.
And plus there was a whole thing with him having a girlfriend as a superhero, but he also knew the girl as a regular person, as an average Joe, and he kind of revealed that to her. And this was the weird part to me, which kind of I felt like brought the comic down a little bit for me. I don't understand exactly why, but she just flips out and is like, I don't know you, like who the hell are you, and starts telling everybody. I feel like that wouldn't really happen if this was in a real life kind of situation. I don't feel like somebody would do that. Like that's like a complete dick move. Like I feel like they would talk about it a little bit more. So that kind of brought the comic down for me a little bit. No offense, Dan.
Well, I guess just to respond to that, I guess that was more, to me, I saw that as someone who was, with someone and then finds out they've been lied to for this entire time. So I felt
but I feel like somebody wouldn't go to the depths of just shouting out to everybody. I'm not sure if it's just how I grew up, how I was taught, but I wouldn't just, like, it's somebody's secret, even if somebody was lying to you whole time. And I don't feel like it was that big of a lie. Like I could kind of understand why he wouldn't tell. It's just like a character. I just don't agree with the character.
Yeah, definitely it's a dick move, but I feel like it fits the female, like Lois Lane per se. It's like the idea if she is more of a shallow character who is more fame obsessed, then I think that would be the reaction that she would have. Like I agree, yeah, that's not something someone should do, but I feel it's more of a commentary on, if you have this situation where someone's so obsessed with fame, so obsessed with career that they react that way. I think it's basically the way I took it is if imagine if like everything goes right for Superman went wrong. And that's why like that happened that way. It's almost like this alternate universe where everything Superman tried to do right went wrong, and then that caused him to go nutso.
Yeah, and then plus everybody is expecting more of him, and everybody's like, he's like listening to all the people talk about him after like he saved something, like he's just showing off. Why is he do this? Like really questioning him, and because they don't know him, and so that kind of turns him over to an evil side as well. I really like him going evil. I feel like if this man, like if Superman was to go evil, like he would be able to take down everybody in his circle easier than is being done in this book. It's a really interesting plot. I don't really care for the character design of the other heroes in the pseudo Justice League that's going on. They have like the Chimera brothers, who I don't really know what their powers are, to be quite honest, who have this weird mask situation going on, and they're like twins. I feel like that design's weird. And this one girl who has the ability to call on spirits of like the Asian culture, like samurais and stuff, where she has in the flashback, her costume looks like a giant ghost sperm on a t-shirt kind of situation. So like the design is kind of weird, and you kind of get that with these lesser known publishers such as Boom Studios, which it's always a detraction for me with these lesser studios or these less known studios. So that kind of brought it down just a little bit for me, but I really enjoyed the overall storyline. I also like this, that he is scared of this one guy, and how they left it kind of suspenseful of we don't really know why this superhero turned supervillain is afraid of this guy, and the fact that one of the main sort of rebels that was in the pseudo Justice League has like tons of robots of this guy. You kind of find out why he has them at the end of this comic. And it kind of leaves it open to you really want to know what is up with this supervillain that can really take down this guy that's being such a dick and like really affecting this world. I thought that element really elevated the comic beyond those elements that I've been really knocking so far. But I thought it was really good. I'd give it a B plus situation. But yeah, I'd recommend it to people. Not for the artwork though. The artwork is just kind of average that you would find in lesser publishers than the top two or Image, really, because Fiona Staples really brings up Image a lot, if you ask me.
Yeah.
Fiona Staples, call me, and please let me purchase some of your artwork.
Yeah, I would agree. The artwork is just kind of like generic. Is a term. It's not necessarily bad. It's just
I completely agree with that term. That's a good use of the word generic, I think.
And there's actually what's interesting too. There's a corresponding series that's like with Superman going bad. It's like if Lex Luthor went good. So I think part of the issue too with a lot of the characters' designs is there are certainly influences from Marvel or DC more so, and I think what they have to showing the influences, but also not infringing on copyrights. So I think it's kind of tough. But yeah, I agree. The art's probably there are a few Boom books from Boom where I think the art is good. Like Hit is probably the best one I've seen so far. But yeah, so I don't think they don't have the creative teams that like Image does at this point. But I think they're certainly expanding. All right, Chuck, you've had plenty of time to work on your last assignment, so I'm really curious to hear what you had to say regarding the Ultimate storyline, the Ultimate comic that you were given.
I did not do it. No, I'm kidding. The Ultimates. I feel like this was something that was like so highly praised and something that I should have read a long time ago. And especially
that initially started off like, this doesn't sound good, and then all of a sudden it turned to, oh wait, maybe it's good.
But I mean, after reading it, I feel like I really should have read it a long time ago now, because obviously a lot of ideas for the Avengers movie came from this.
Yeah.
Like a lot more than I realized. But I guess get right into it. Obviously it's the Marvel Ultimate Universe, so it's a little different than the 616. I'm probably not telling anyone anything new here. But it's the Ultimates rather than being called the Avengers. And they kind of like, I know, Dan, you mentioned before about the cartoons, like the animated movies of the Ultimates, which I did get to see a while back. And I thought it would kind of be closer to that because I guess I'm used to the DC movies where they're like pretty much right off the page. But I was surprised these were a little bit different. I cringe a little bit, but I gotta say, I honestly thought I would like this a lot because I like the movies, but this really didn't do it for me.
Wow.
You're really up and down on this review in the first like 2 minutes of it.
Well, I was trying to throw everybody off. I didn't want to lead right in with the bad. But no, honestly, there's really a lot of things in this that like really turned me off while reading it. And I mean, don't get me wrong, there was a lot of great moments too that I really liked, the way they did it and stuff. But for the most part, I was kind of disappointed.
I'm sorry, Dan. I feel like you're getting the beat down on this whole homework thing.
I gotta spoil the high grades party here.
I'm curious to hear what those issues are.
My grade wasn't exactly high, but I feel like Chuck's is going to be worse. I am so sorry, Dan.
It's not necessarily that I'm not saying it's a bad book. I think it was a very good book, but
it's just different.
It was just things that I didn't like personally. I guess the first thing that was a huge turnoff for me was the Hulk talking about being horny. And it just like, come on, like that was pretty bad. Like, I don't know.
I have to read this now.
Oh, you haven't read it, Greg?
No, I haven't.
But it's like, I don't know. To me, it just ruined the flow of the story because it's kind of like you get the reaction like Greg just had. And it's just like, it just interrupts the story for you. And like, what the hell is he talking about? Like, he's like, Hulk horny for Betty. Like, what?
Well, we all are, Hulk. You just gotta like...
It was interesting. But I guess another thing, I didn't like the way they did Betty Ross in this. I thought she's very cold and condescending person, especially to Banner, which I know they're having relationship troubles and everything, but to me, it just wasn't like her character at all. They kind of made her a total bitch. And I didn't necessarily think it added anything to the story by making her like that. So that kind of puzzled me. But I guess something else would be Banner. They kind of made into this bumbling fool that, you know, nobody respects and nobody takes seriously. He's like just a dork. He's the butt of the joke for people. He's depressed and sulky. And it was just like, it was more of like a Peter Parker to me. Like it really got that feel. Yeah. And that it didn't, for some reason, it didn't really work for me, but, and I'm going heavy with the bad here. I do have some stuff that I like.
But by the way, Chuck, by the way, Chuck, who is the author of this?
Mark Miller.
Author of this, yes, Mark Miller. Which I was shocked because I really liked his Civil War stuff, but
yeah,
to me this was markedly different than the Civil War stuff, and like it kind of like seemed simplistic in a lot of places, like almost like a low reading level. I don't know if that was intentional or something, but
maybe trying to get the younger generation into it, kind of.
Yeah, and I thought that. I mean, which is fine.
I think that's what the Ultimates was meant to do.
Yeah, but it's kind of it's kind of grown up though in some spots.
Well, yeah, Hulk want Betty, and Hulk want to put it in Betty, and Dan probably edit out.
Especially the whole thing with like Hank Pym, like, beating his wife. That's like not something for children.
Well,
so
that happened in the regular universe.
Yeah, Hank Pym is a dick. We can all agree on that. But
we're gonna find that out in the next Marvel movie.
I'll go some things that I did like. I loved the stuff in the beginning with the World War II stuff with Captain America and the other soldiers. I thought that sequence was awesome, and I always like when they do flashbacks to that kind of stuff and what he was like back then, and how his fellow soldiers talked about him and like regarded him and everything. I thought that was a really cool sequence. Something that was kind of skimmed through too quickly in the animated movie. I thought was really well done in this. I like that a lot. Also, a very gratifying part, Cap taking down a humongous naked giant man all by himself.
You got me at humongous naked giant man.
Yeah, that part was pretty great. I like that. And then I like the part too where they're kind of talking about what actors would play them in a movie. And of course you have Nick Fury. He's like, of course, Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah.
I was like, yes.
Did they guess right on any of the other ones, or
No?
I don't think they do. I think because I was looking to see for Iron Man, and he said they said like Brad Pitt for Captain America.
Yeah.
And Captain America's like, who's Brad Pitt? And I forget what they said for Tony Stark. Was it Clooney or something like that?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think Clooney would make a great Iron Man.
Yeah. But I like that stuff.
Batman.
I like how they kind of used the Chitauri as basically the Skrulls. And they kind of explain that by saying, like, some people call them the Skrulls, some people call them the Chitauri on different planets and everything.
Do they still have the shape-shifting ability?
Yes, which is one thing they didn't adopt in the movie, which like the actual Avengers movie, which would have been probably way too complicated. But I thought that was a cool part in this too, because like there was this whole like, Dan, I don't know if you got this feeling, there was sort of like a secret invasion part to this. Like they kind of have infiltrated the society for like all these years and everything.
Yeah, I think. I mean, I guess more so the line of something like I said, like the Body Snatchers or something like that, where it's more of a.
So it's combining a lot of different things, and I'd like to read this one funny part at the end. And Greg's gonna get a kick out of this because he hasn't read it yet. And it's just, it doesn't, it's not a major part of the plot, but they kind of like basically get the Hulk mad, and they get him to change and everything to attack this one guy. And Captain America gets him to go after this guy he's fighting by telling him that, that naked guy over there was like all over Betty this last couple of days, and Hulk just like freaks out. And I was laughing out loud at this part, but
it would have been great if he Cap told him, "Oh, that's Betty over there," and then Hulk just humps this guy to death.
But
Trademark
just grabs
circles. Marvel, check us out if you want this written.
Hulk just grabs this guy by the ankle and he goes, "Hulk show naked guy what happens when he touches Banner's girlfriend. Hulk touch naked guy like naked guy was touching Betty." And he just continues to beat the crap out of him and just literally like rips his head off. Freaking, and then he's like screaming, he's like, "Naked guy make Hulk angry." I was like, he should have been at the Baltimore Comic-Con with the guy in the loincloth. But that part was great. There were a lot of great moments. I would say overall I liked the book. There was some nitpicky stuff that I didn't like, but I didn't get to read the Ultimates 2. I didn't get into them yet. I just read volume 1 and 2 of the first Ultimates, which are the first 13 issues of that series.
Because I will say regarding your issue with like Banner, and I think that is set up because you see a lot of progression with that character with the Ultimates 2, which I actually think is better than the beginning of it, because it gets into more of a global war going on, and it's some really good moments with Hawkeye in that.
Yeah.
it's been years since I've seen it, but I don't remember the simplistic element of it that you're mentioning. I'm curious what you mean by that.
I think it could have been a lot to do with my mood too, not my mood, but what I've been reading for prior to this, like, because it was a story of kind of like that classic, like, the world's in peril and everything's on the line, and it would, like, for some reason, it may not be the book's fault, but for some reason everything seemed like somewhat predictable to me, and like nothing was jumping out at me like, oh, that was awesome, like I said, it's not necessarily the book's fault, because the second volume, which are issues 7 through 13, did pick up a lot for me. The first volume was a little slow for me, but the second one picked up a lot more, so I will give it that.
Yeah, I don't know if the first volume is heavy on the like twists and turns per se. It's more, I think, more just trying to establish the whole universe. It's more so showing you how these characters are going to be different, though. If anything, the Ultimates characters are not that much different than the ones in the regular universe. But I'd be curious if you would like the second volume more, because I think that goes into new territory, because it gets away from just the classic, more Avengers storylines, where I don't know if there's surprises per se, but there are just a lot of like interesting moments of where they go. So.
Yeah, I will say, like, the one thing that was weird too kind of was like how they kept saying like Thor was a pacifist and everything, but like, what? I mean, he still would, like, obviously you'd kick butt if he was called upon and everything, but there was like all this thing, like Nick Fury was saying, this guy is like a pacifist, and like it's really hard to get him to fight and do anything, which in like the other universe, Thor is like, his anger is second only to like the Hulk. Like if he's challenged to fight, like he's gonna freaking throw down with you. But I do like how they did Cap. Cap was really, like, he was in charge, he was aggressive, he was tactical. I thought how they did Cap was great. I really liked that part of it. They definitely nailed like the whole Hank Pym thing, and how he's kind of like, a total jerk and full of himself, even though he's not that great,
Yeah.
How he always, like, he grows up, to like 60 feet tall, and he thinks he can like stop anybody, but he always gets his ass kicked. But so like they nailed a lot of that stuff, and I really love I think I like this version of Nick Fury better too. Like, he's definitely more, like, he's more interactive, and I like his relationship with Captain America a lot. It's kind of like these two old soldiers, and a lot of times they kind of know what each other's thinking as far as strategy and stuff like that. So I definitely like this version of Nick Fury better, and obviously that's the one that the movie's based on.
Yeah, I think the movies have taken like a little bit from the Ultimate Universe and a little bit from the regular 616. Kind of picking and choosing. But very interesting. So what grade would you end up giving the Ultimates?
I would say I wouldn't go low. I'm gonna say like a B-, because there's still, like I said, there's still a lot of aspects of it that I really liked. Although I was sort of confused about Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch, because they kind of came in and didn't do nothing, and then they kind of showed up at the end. But
yeah, they
have to kind of go back and reread that.
Yeah, they end up showing up more in Ultimates 2, and then what stinks though is like with Ultimates 3, new writers come in, and then it ends up just becoming like a generic Avengers book. So it like pretty much everything that came before is forgotten, and it just becomes like Thor becomes like regular Thor, and it wasn't nearly as good. So
yeah, I definitely like the more modern feel to it and stuff. How it would go down nowadays if a team like that was to get together. So yeah, still a lot of good aspects of it. Didn't mean to like bash it or anything.
I know. I mean,
I get like I said, I've been in a weird mood lately, and like I guess I just got nitpicky. But like I said, the second book I did like a lot better. So I'm curious to kind of try out the Ultimates 2 volumes and see if I start to like them even more.
Yeah, very cool, very cool.
Chuck needs to read the second volume here on antidepressants, apparently.
All right, so we like to end each episode with a letter, but we're going to do a different idea here. We've done the Unknown Saga, and we're going to take a break from that. We'll be getting back to that shortly. And we're actually going to be kind of acting out some interesting email correspondence from, if you go to the website, donotReply.com, there's a lot of great responses with people between Craigslist and some funny emails. Basically, the tagline is "emails from an asshole." So we're gonna take one of the first ones they did, which is regarding communication between two people in a fish tank. A guy wants to sell a fish tank, and then problems ensue. So we'll be acting this out, and hopefully it'll end up working out. So
and maybe we'll even put a link down below the record here.
Oh yeah, definitely. I will be putting a link in the geekcastradio.com to the website. And Chuck is going to be playing the part of the person trying to buy the fish tank. I am the seller of the fish tank, and Greg will be playing a special role that'll be coming up later on in the discussion. So I don't want to spoil it because it adds to the fun.
Spoiler alert, guys. It is a minimum wage job.
Just like this podcast. No. All right, Chuck, so you can start whenever you're ready.
Okay. So I am the guy inquiring about the fish tank.
Yes.
Okay, here we go.
The original ad that the response starts from is original ad. 55-gallon tank, great condition, no scratches, comes with filter, $125, a phone number, call me only, in caps. No emails, with caps. 484 phone number. So that's the email, or that's the correspondence that Chuck is now responding to.
Hey, that fish tank is beautiful. I must have it. Is it still for sale?
Call
Mike.
the number.
What number?
484-755-5555.
I just called that number and nobody answered.
I never heard it ring. Call again and leave a message if no answer.
I just called it again. Nobody picked up, so I went to leave you a message. But it said your voicemail was full.
My voicemail isn't full. It never rang. Are you calling the right number? 484-755-5555.
I just called the number again and I got a fax machine noise. Is there a trick to dialing your number?
What trick? It's a phone number. You just dial it.
You sure you didn't give me the number to a fax machine? Would you rather communicate through fax? That would actually be easier for me.
No.
Sorry. I wasn't sure what to do, so I sent you a fax. Did you get it?
Don't send me a fax. Stop sending me faxes. Seriously, stop trying to send me a fax. It won't work because it's a cell phone.
Can't you just set your cell phone to fax machine mode?
What the hell is fax machine mode? Cell phones don't have that. Oh my god, dude, enough with the faxes.
Sorry, I set the fax machine to try sending the fax every 15 minutes until it goes through. It was the office fax machine, and I already left for the weekend. Can this wait until Monday?
No, it can't wait until Monday. Are you fucking kidding me? Go back to your office and cancel it right now.
My apologies. I can't go back. I'm at the airport, and my flight to Vancouver leaves in an hour and a half. I'll cancel the fax on Monday when I get back.
Hey, no, fuck that. You better find a way to cancel this shit right now. Call somebody at the office. Make them do it. I'm fucking serious here.
Nobody is at the office. It's 6:30. Actually, you know what? The janitor might be there. We are pretty good friends. You want me to contact him?
Yes.
Okay, I gave him your info. He's going to call you shortly. I'm on the plane now, and they are making us turn our cell phones off for takeoff. Good luck.
Don't have him call me, you idiot. Just have him cancel the fax.
This is an automated out-of-office reply from Mike. I will be out of the office on vacation in Canada until Monday, June 10th. I will not be checking my emails until I return. Have a great weekend, eh?
God damn it!
This is an automated out-of-office reply from Mike. I will be out of the office on vacation in Canada until Monday, June 10th. I will not be checking my emails until I return. Have a great weekend, eh?
Enter Greg as Dave the janitor.
Hi there. Is this Felix? Mike told me to contact you about buying a fish tank. I'm Dave the janitor at Mike's office. I tried calling the number he gave me, but it sounded like a fax machine or something. So I am emailing you instead.
Yeah, hi Dave. Here's the situation. Mike has no idea how phones work and tried to send me a fax to my phone using a fax machine at his office. Now my phone is getting a call from his fax machine every 15 minutes. He said you can cancel the fax.
Yeah, Mike didn't send anything about a fax machine to me. He told me to buy a fish tank from you, and he'd get it from me on Monday.
Oh, Jesus Christ. No, he was supposed to tell you to cancel the fax that keeps coming to my cell phone. Are you at the office? Can you stop the fax?
So you aren't selling the fish tank?
Look, forget the fish tank. Just stop the fax machine, please.
Why are you so worried about this fax machine? Can you just turn your cell phone to fax mode?
That isn't a thing! Look, I'm done screwing around here. Just stop the fax machine, okay?
Tell you what, I'll cancel the fax machine if you drop the price on the fish tank to $75.
Look, I am in no mood to haggle with a janitor over a fucking fish tank.
Excuse me, with the janitor? What is that supposed to mean? What if I had a fancy rich person job as an investment banker? Would you haggle with me then? I don't like your condescending tone, buddy. I know being a janitor isn't the most desirable job, but I gotta put food on the table for my kids somehow. Sorry I'm not an astronaut with a degree in brain surgery. You're in no mood to argue with the janitor. Well, guess what? I'm in no mood to turn off fax machines for a rude, snobby, patronizing fish tank owner.
I didn't mean to insult you. I like janitors. I'm sorry. Can you please just turn off the fax machine?
Fine, but I'm telling Mike what you said to me, and I don't think he will want to buy a fish tank from you after that. Are you this rude to your fish? Oh, I'm Felix. Sorry, I'm in no mood to feed a goldfish. Maybe if you were a $500 blue-face angelfish, I would feed you.
Are you done?
Yeah, I stopped the fax. Sorry it took me so long to figure out how to cancel it. I'm just a janitor. What do I know about fax machines? I don't have a fancy degree in fax machine engineering.
Yeah, that's enough. Thanks. Bye. A few days later.
Felix, I just got back from Canada to find out you were belittling my janitor. Dave is one of the best janitors I have ever had the pleasure of working with, so you better watch your mouth. You think you're better than him or something? Big words coming from a guy who doesn't even own a fax machine. You can forget about me buying your fish tank.
Good, because I'm not selling anything to a stupid fuck who can't even figure out how to dial a phone number.
Please stop harassing me and Dave. You've done enough. Leave us alone.
Oh, I'm harassing you? The dumbass who sends a fax machine to me every 15 minutes and leaves for the fucking country? You know how many times that fax machine called me, you stupid piece of shit? You have the nerve to say I'm harassing you? Go fuck yourself, you fucking fuckhead.
This is an automated out-of-office reply from Mike. Hola, I will be on vacation in Mexico until Monday, June 17th, and will not be checking my email until I return. Adios, amigos.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that little escapade, and like I mentioned, we got that from donotReply.com, and I'll be putting a link in episode post, and there's actually even more funnier ones on there as well, so go ahead and check them out. It's a lot of good time. But anything else before we bring this episode to a close?
Yeah, I'm just wondering how that fax machine thing works. I don't even know. I don't think you can even get a degree for that.
I think to figure out how to fax machines, what you need to do is go to iTunes and give a rating to Talking in Circles podcast of 5 stars, and that's exactly how that works. So.
Oh, is that how that works?
It is. It's
what
amazing.
else can you tell me to get in contact with you guys besides those pesky fax machines?
The iPod's review page even works in Canada and Mexico.
It does.
That is a good thing to know. But can I get in touch with you guys through that Twitter thing?
You can. And Facebook by searching Talking in Circles GCRN. Though you can't get in contact with Chuck because he doesn't believe in Twitter.
That's right,
what?
damn it.
Chuck doesn't believe in that Twitter?
No, but you can get in contact with Greg at The Great Forge or myself at Movie Revolt.
That's amazing.
It really is. Or go to geekcastradio.com or nerdly.co.uk and you can comment on the episode post there as well.
I don't think those nerdly people like that Greg feller too much because he insulted the Brits.
he did. Well, everyone except for Emma Watson. So
that is true. That is one horny son of a bitch, that Greg feller.
He is. Yeah. But yeah, there's all those ways to get in contact with us. Well, that'll be the end of the episode for this week. We'll be back next week. Same time, same channel, same podcast feed. But for now,
this has been Chuck.
This has been Greg. Or Dave the Janitor.
And this has been Dan, and we've been Talking in Circles. We'll see you next week.
You think your podcast is better than me, the janitor?
You think
just because I don't have a fancy degree in podcasting?
That would be the worst degree ever. Degree in podcasting. Yeah.
Somebody probably has it because they have all these classes on how Superman got his powers, or how to write Pacific Rim or something. They have all these weird niche-y classes anymore.
If anything, maybe I need to take how to take a podcast or get a degree in podcasting and maybe
just shorten the length of one.
Yeah. And welcome back. And yes, class is once again in session. We have all given each other assignments. Maybe we're going to start off here by just going over what we gave each other, and which sounds bad, like not like VD or something like that, but just assignments.
What is happening right now?
I don't know. All right, let me do that one again. I have no idea. I have no idea. I'm high on Mountain Dew, I guess. I have no idea.
You should switch over the hard stuff.